right, y'all. The owner of the San Francisco 49ers is in a cold situation right now, man. How did he get there? We're about to find out, man. But my boy went and tucked the cheap route for the snooty fox, the snooty box, if you know what I mean. Let's see.
Let me lay this out properly because it moved fast and a lot of the reporting around this has been sloppy. On Sunday morning, East Palestine police make the arrest at the Wheat Hill mobile home community. They're not working alone here. They're assisting the Mahoning Valley Human Trafficking Task Force, which is a regional operation that runs stings in that part of Ohio. And I want to be crystal clear about that because I've already seen people online run way too far with it. That task force assisted with the arrest. Jed York was not charged with human trafficking. He was not accused of human trafficking. Nothing in any court record connects him to human trafficking.
He was trying to buy some cat. That's it. That's all.
There's a task force that runs these operations. That's the whole connection. So let's not make this leap here because we really try to get the facts straight on this YouTube channel. So now that we got all that out of the way, Jed York gets booked on suspicion of engaging in prostitution, plus a second charge called possessing criminal tools. He posts $5,000 and he's out that same afternoon. On Monday morning, he's in court, and here's the part that everybody's getting wrong. The prosecutor amended the prostitution charge down to disorderly conduct before he ever entered a plea. So the thing he actually pleaded to is disorderly conduct and possessing criminal tools. 2 misdemeanors, and he pleaded no contest to both of them. And to be clear, no contest means he's not saying he did it, and he's not saying he didn't.
What is the criminal tools, man? That's the part. Are y'all saying a gun or what? What is the criminal tools that y'all not giving us? What the fuck? Come on, man.
Saying he's not going to fight it. It still ends in a conviction on those counts. It still closes the case. It's the plea that you would take when fighting the thing would cost you a lot more than just losing it. And for a man in this position, that math isn't particularly close. Fighting it means motions, hearings, a court date in the fall, reporters at every single one of them, and the whole thing sitting there like an open
over some
wound throughout the
box.
entire football season. Pleading it out on Monday morning means it's a Tuesday story instead of a November story. The sentence was jail time on both counts, to be served at the same time, and he was credited for the day he'd already spent, so he didn't go back in. Fines of $150 on the disorderly conduct, $1,000 on the criminal tools, $1,150 in total. They gave him his phone back. He completed some online course, and $160 in cash that got seized was handed over to that task force as part of the deal. So that's the legal side, and the legal side is finished, so your boy
That's a slap on the wrist.
Hopefully not gonna get into trouble for this. But there's one thing on the timeline that I want you to actually stop and think about. The man was arrested on Sunday morning, and the case is completely closed on Monday during lunchtime. I want you to think of how fast that is. If you get arrested on a Sunday in this country on a pair of misdemeanors, you are not in front of a judge the next morning with a negotiated plea agreement already typed up and a prosecutor who's agreed to amend your top charge.
If you're the owner of the 49ers, you are. That's big money right there, nigga. Hey, we need to get him out ASAP, clear his name, and get this behind us now.
You're getting a court date. That court date is probably in October. You're hiring somebody. You're taking days off of work and you're living with it hanging over your head for months. The man was arrested, arraigned, sentenced, fined, and finished before most of the country even knew his name was in a police report. Whatever you want to say about any of this, regular people don't move throughout the courts at that speed. And this is such a big deal, and I want to make sure we make it a big deal in this video. To understand why it's a big deal, you need to understand who Jed York actually is, because he is not a normal NFL owner and he has never been a normal NFL owner. Let's start with how he got the job. His mother is Denise DeBartolo York. Her brother is Eddie DeBartolo, the guy who owned the 49ers through the entire dynasty. Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Steve Young, the 5 Super Bowls. Eddie DeBartolo is a Hall of Famer, and in the Bay Area, he's basically a saint. Eddie loses control of the team in the late 90s after a legal mess in Louisiana, and it goes to his sister. And in 2008, Denise and John York hand day-to-day control of the franchise to their son. Jed became the CEO in 2008 and the principal owner in 2024. He was 27 years old when they gave him the team. Could you think about how wild that is? 27. Think about where you are as a 27-year-old. He got handed one of the 5 most valuable properties in American sports because of who his mom's brother was. And that's not not a knock on the
Bam.
guy, that's just the fact pattern. And it explains basically everything about how the Bay Area has felt about him throughout these years. But there's something about him that I want you to notice, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's the whole reason that this week hits completely differently.
All right, fill us in, man. Fill us in. What are we missing here? Why is this man at a goddamn trailer park trying to buy a $140 cat? That's the one part that just keep making me scratch my head. Make it make sense.
York has spent 18 years being extremely good at choosing his words. And let me show you what I mean. Let's start with December of 2014. Jim Harbaugh has taken the 49ers to 3 straight NFC championship games and a Super Bowl in 4 years, which is an insane achievement. 4 years, 3 title games. The 49ers were in mediocrity prior to this period of time. They had one of the greatest 4-year runs that any coach has had in the modern era, and they got rid of him. And the press release they put out did not say fired. The headline on it said the 49ers and Jim Harbaugh mutually agreed to part ways. Mutually, like Tom Segura and Christina P. announcing their own divorce.
We are amicable. This is not an ugly divorce. We're cool, dude.
We cover the Tom Segura stuff on Flight Mike TV if you guys want to check it out. But York sat at a podium the next day and said, "This wasn't us saying, Jim, you're fired. You're not there anymore." He called it philosophical differences. He said it wasn't an easy conclusion for anybody.
This wasn't us saying, Jim, you're fired. You're not here anymore. This, it was a conclusion that we came to. It wasn't an easy conclusion for anybody. We've had philosophical discussions. When we sat down, we just couldn't come to a place where we thought moving together was the best for either party.
And then Harbaugh went on a podcast a few months later and blew the whole thing up in about 9 seconds, saying, "I was told I wouldn't be the coach anymore." And then the line that struck. He said he didn't leave the 49ers. He felt like the 49er hierarchy left him. So it wasn't mutual. It was a firing with better public relations, and everybody knew this was happening in real time. But how about another example? Let's fast forward to Jim Tomsula. He gets promoted from D-line coach to head coach in a move that nobody really understood. The man goes 5-11 and gets fired about 2 hours after the season finale. Chip Kelly comes in, goes 2-14, gets fired after 1 year. Trent Baalke goes with him. So in the space of about 24 months, this franchise went from an NFC championship contender to burning through head coaches like they were on a subscription plan. And when a reporter asked York directly in January 2017 whether getting rid of Harbaugh had been a mistake, this is what he said: "I can't look backwards." He said it's very easy to play revisionist history, and he wasn't going to play that game. Revisionist history. He's describing a question about a decision he made 2 years earlier as revisionist history. How about this example? On Thanksgiving night 2014, the Seahawks come into Levi Stadium and beat the brakes off of the 49ers on national television. And York gets on Twitter that night and posts a thank you to the faithful for coming out and says the performance wasn't acceptable and apologizes for it. This is an owner apologizing to fans for a loss on the internet that same night. And look at what that actually does, because it's very clever. It puts the apology on the football team. It positions him as the guy who's disappointed alongside of you, rather than the guy who's responsible for the roster and the coaching staff that just got destroyed. He's standing in the crowd with you, pointing at the field. Do you see the pattern that I'm trying to point out yet? Fired becomes mutual. A bad decision becomes revisionist history. A blowout becomes a thing that he apologizes to you about, like he watched it from section 214. This is a guy whose actual professional skill is
he knows how to dodge drama, dodge schmut. He knows how to dodge it. This was a slip up. This was a slip up. How are you going to dodge this prostitution, nigga? Trying to buy some cat.
Finding the version of words that makes an uncomfortable thing sound like a different thing. Some of us would even go out to call this gaslighting. And on Monday, his football team put out a statement about his arrest. So I want you to keep everything that I told you in the back of your mind, because we're about to read it. So here's what the 49ers said about their owner getting arrested. "As this is a legal matter, which has been resolved, we will not be providing any further comment at this time."
Oh my God. That yeah. Y'all saw what happened, so what? Shut up. We ain't gonna talk about it. Let's move forward. That's it. What, nigga? Hold on. If that was anybody else, if that was a player, this should have been in the news for goddamn 2-3 weeks. It's the owner. He wants us to shut up about it. and nobody making no more comments. Ain't that about a bitch?
There are 3 things wrong with this statement, and each one is worse than the last. The first one was caught by Mike Florio, and once he pointed it out, I personally couldn't unsee it. Teams normally decline to comment because a case is open. That's a standard move, right? We can't discuss a pending legal matter. That's your cover. That's the reason that actually works. The 49ers did the opposite. They told you it's over, and they used that as the reason that they're not discussing it. So what's the actual message in there? Read it one more time. The case being finished is doing the work of the excuse. It's done. Therefore, we're done talking about it.
As this is the legal matter which has been resolved, we will not be providing any further comment at this time. That nigga made it seem like it was a slip. Hey, nigga, look. What happened, happened. We clean it up. It's done. Let's move forward. We're done. That nigga, in less than 24 hours, they cleaned up this whole shit and just think everybody's supposed to move on. No, my brother. Listen, you made it to where we're not finna move on no time soon until you can explain why you was in a trailer park trying to buy a $140 cat in a trailer park. What is going on with you, bro? We need answers, man.
Is doing the work of the excuse. It's done. Therefore, we're done talking about it. And they would very much like you to be done talking about it too. As Florio put it, the fact that this thing is already resolved means there's no reason to stay silent other than not wanting to say anything. The second problem comes from Tim Kawakami at the San Francisco Standard, and I think it's the sharpest observation that anyone's made about this topic. There's no letterhead. There's no press release. It's not attributed to the team president. It's not attributed to a spokesperson. It's not attributed to anyone. It's multiple words that are attached to nobody. And Kawakami's point is the one that actually stings here. If this had been a player or a coach or anybody else who works in that building, there would have been some sort of acknowledgement.
Right.
Some line about taking the matter seriously. Some line about gathering information. Something with a human being's name under it. Think about how many times you've seen the team put out the "we are aware of the situation involving so-and-so and we are in the process of gathering more information."
Right.
Every team has a template about this, and they didn't even do that one.
And they talk about the shit for 2 weeks, nigga. And they start issuing out suspensions, and they start doing, like, come on, my nigga. What's up with you? They don't even want to mention the nigga name. They don't want to mention the situation. So what happens with a goddamn owner? Even if they say, oh, you're suspended, nigga, I'm not on the field. The fuck? What happens to an owner when he gets caught doing some fuck shit? Because, nigga, you got to lead by example. Now, if I'm a player on a team and you done did this and nothing happens to you, or there's no, like, what does that say for me? Bitch, you better not say nothing when I do it. You know what I'm saying?
Owner. Which brings me to the third problem, and it's the one that no one's really acknowledging here. Who exactly is writing this statement? Because the communications department at the San Francisco 49ers reports up a chain that ends at Jed York. There is no independent board sitting above him deciding how to handle this. There's no HR department that can investigate the guy who owns the building. The people whose job it is to respond to this story on behalf of the organization all work for the man the story is about. So what you're actually reading when you're reading the statement is a company that's being asked to comment on the owner by its owner. And it came out sounding exactly like 18 years
like
of
the
everything
owner.
else. A firing became mutual, a mistake became revisionist history, and an arrest has become a legal matter, all of which has been resolved. Except this time, there's a problem that he's never had before. He can call it a resolved legal matter all he wants, but there is now a document in a country courthouse in Ohio with his legal name on it, John Edward York, and it says what it says, and no phrasing gets it off the record. And there's somebody else who gets a vote on this, and it's somebody who doesn't work for him. Now, during the same day, the league office put out its own statement, and it was even shorter. We are aware of the matter which will be reviewed under the personal conduct policy. That's it. There's no timeline, there's no commitment to anything. But they got it out on the same day, which tells you that they understood exactly how big this was before most of the media did. And the second that hit, every single person covering this said the same thing. Nothing's going to happen. Look at Robert Kraft. So let's actually look at Robert Kraft, because I went through that entire case yesterday.
Robert Kraft be living his best life, nigga. That nigga Robert Kraft out here throwing parties and functions He over there getting the spanky, the hand spank jobs. Nigga going crazy. Y'all know all these owners is out here. Nigga, come on, man. These are NFL owners. They out here living it up, nigga. This nigga just did some thirsty shit. Everybody else, they out here, you know what I'm saying? Come on. What made you go to a trailer park, bro? I could not figure that out for the life of me. Right now, if you was going to get some pussy, even if you wasn't paying, y'all, a bitch tell you it's in a trailer park, you're going to be like, I don't know all that.
And I think when you see how it really ended, it says the complete opposite of what people think it says. On February of 2019, Robert Kraft gets charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of soliciting prostitution at a place called the Orchids of Asia Day Spa in Jupiter, Florida. It's part of a huge multi-county investigation. He pleads not guilty, and he hires a genuinely absurd number of very expensive lawyers. And the entire case against him is video. Police had secretly installed cameras inside the spa under a warrant. That footage is the evidence. It's basically the only evidence. On May 2019, a judge named Leonard Hanser throws the video out. His reasoning in a 10-page ruling is that the detectives and the judge who signed off on the warrant didn't do enough to protect the privacy of everybody else in that building, because some of the customers on those tapes were just getting a legal massage. You can't secretly film a room full of people to catch a few of them. In August of 2020, a state appeals court agrees and the video stays out. In September of 2020, Florida's Attorney General decides not to take it any further, and the prosecutors drop the case. State attorney, Dave Arenberg, said the quiet part very plainly. Without those videos, they could not move forward. The court filing said there was probable cause to make the arrest, but the evidence couldn't prove every element of the crime. So the discipline from the NFL was none. There was no suspension, no fine, not a dollar, not a single game. And that matters here for a second reason, because the Kraft story got reported for a year and a half as a human trafficking case. It was in every headline, and in the end, prosecutors admitted they never found trafficking at that spa and nobody got charged with it, which is exactly the trap I asked you to avoid at the beginning of this video. A task force investigating trafficking runs an operation. The man arrested in that operation gets charged with misdemeanors. Those are 2 different things. And if you didn't believe me a few minutes ago, believe the Florida prosecutors who had to walk it all back. So Kraft skated, and that part is true. And everybody took a lesson from it. And I think they took the wrong lesson from it. The lesson people took was the NFL protects its owners. I think the actual lesson was the NFL needed a conviction, and Robert Kraft never gave them one. His charges got dropped, erased, legally. At the end of that road, Robert Kraft was not convicted of anything, and the league had every bit of cover it could ever want to do nothing at all. Jed York gave them a conviction in 24 hours, and the difference isn't me being clever here, guys. The difference is written into the rule book in a sentence I'm going to read to you in about a minute and a half from now. And once you hear it, this entire video changes shape. Everybody keeps framing this as a question of whether the league wants to punish Jed York. That's not the question. The question is whether the league can explain why it wouldn't, using a policy it wrote itself. So let's actually read the thing. The NFL's personal conduct policy for non-players covers owners, coaches, front office people, everybody who works in the sport who isn't on a roster, and it does 2 things. First, it says what's prohibited, and the standard is enormously broad. Conduct detrimental to the integrity of or public confidence in the National Football League. That's the bar. Not conduct that's illegal, not conduct that results in a felony, conduct that damages public confidence in the NFL. That is deliberately written to be wide enough to drive a truck through. And the league likes it that way, because it means Goodell can act on basically anything he wants to act on. And then there's the second.
So what will he do is the question, man. What will he do? What do y'all think Roger Goodell's gonna do about this? Like, my nigga, you busted, bro. And this is right here in the handbook. It's right here in the book, bro. I gotta do something. What do y'all think he's gonna do? Because he gotta do something.
The part about who's eligible to be disciplined in the first place, and this is the sentence: persons convicted of a crime or subject to a disposition of a criminal proceeding are subject to discipline. You know what a disposition of a criminal proceeding is? It's when a criminal case gets resolved any which way: a verdict, a guilty plea, a no contest plea entered in open court that results in a sentence and a fine. That's what happened Monday morning when Jed York was finally let go. The policy names that category itself. myself. I didn't have to go looking for it. I didn't have to squint at it, and I'm not reaching. It's literally the second half of the freaking sentence. And here's why the Kraft comparison falls apart the second you hold it up against that language, guys. Kraft's case got dropped. Dropped means there's no disposition. Dropped means the case ended without ever producing one. The case never got triggered because there was nothing there to trigger it. Jed York pleaded. He entered a plea, a judge accepted it, a sentence came down, and he paid a fine. Same policy, different door, and the door Robert Kraft walked through just got bolted shut. And it gets even worse for the NFL because they've been on record about owners specifically 3 separate times. The first one is in its policy document itself. Ownership and club or league management have traditionally been held to a higher standard and are subject to more significant discipline when violations occur. That's in the text. The second one is Roger Goodell's own handwriting. In 2014, when Goodell suspended the late Jim Irsay, he wrote him a letter, and the league released that letter to the public on purpose. In it, Goodell told Irsay he'd said on numerous occasions that owners, management personnel, and coaches have to be held to a higher standard than players, and then noted that Irsay had personally agreed with him and had volunteered that owners should be held to the highest standard of all. The commissioner wrote that down and then handed it to reporters. And the third one is Robert Kraft himself. Remember the phrase I told you to hold on to a few minutes ago? Well, here it is. When Kraft put out his public apology in 2019, the line he chose was that he'd hurt and disappointed people that rightfully held him to a higher standard. An owner said it, the commissioner wrote it, and it's printed in the rulebook. So the standard exists. It's been stated by
ain't shit happened to that nigga. So what's gonna happen to this nigga, man? I say ain't nothing gonna happen. They're gonna sweep this shit under the rug. And they're gonna highlight something else in the NFL that's gonna be bigger or more talked about to overshadow this shit. Right now, better not one of you NFL players better get in trouble in the next 48 hours, 72 hours. They gonna fucking tear your ass up. Please don't do nothing. I know what they gonna do. This is gonna be our out, nigga. One of these NFL niggas fuck up right now. We gonna highlight that story, run that shit in the press, nigga. So we gonna shift everybody's attention over here. So I'm good.
Everybody who'd have to enforce it. The only thing left to find out is whether it's real or not. So what happens to the owners who step into it? Because there's a track record here, and it's more interesting than what people think. Let's start with the one that matters the most, because it's the closest match on the board. March of 2014, the late Jim Irsay gets pulled over near his home outside of Indianapolis. Police find prescription painkillers in his system and more than $29,000 in cash in the car. That September, he pleads guilty to 1 misdemeanor count of driving while intoxicated. Hours later, that same day, the NFL suspends him 6 games and fines him $5,000. And that fine was the maximum the league was allowed to levy under its own rules at the
wait. 500,000. Did you say 5,000? That's 500,000.
And that fine was the same day. The NFL suspends him 6 games and fines him $5,000. And that fine was the maximum the league was allowed to levy under its own rules at the time. Not a compromise, but the ceiling. He was barred from the facility. He was barred from practices and games. He couldn't represent the Colts at league meetings. He couldn't do media. He couldn't post about the team or league business. Pete Ward, Ryan Grigson, and Irsay's daughter Carly ran the team while he was gone. Sit with that.
So if they did that just for fucking intoxicated drunk driving, what are they gonna do for a nigga soliciting and buying prostitutes?
Comparison for a second, because I've been thinking about this all day. Irsay's offense was a DUI, and I'm not minimizing a DUI here, guys. It's dangerous, people die from it, and we've made many videos on it, and hopefully we don't have to make more content on it. But in that specific incident, nobody got hurt. He pleaded guilty, he went into treatment, and he took responsibility publicly. And Goodell hit him with everything that the rule book had. So what's the argument that Jed York should get less than what Jim Irsay got? I've genuinely been trying to construct one since this news broke, and every version I come up with ends up sounding like, well, I guess this one's more embarrassing to talk about. And bear in mind, Jim Irsay's not alone in this list. Jerry Richardson got fined $2.75 million in 2018.
God damn. $3 million? Shit. What type of fine is this? $3 million?
After a league investigation into his conduct in the workplace, Stephen Ross got suspended for what worked out to about 76 days and fined $1.5 million in 2022 for tampering. Dan Snyder got fined $60 million in 2020.
$60 million.
Dave Tepper got fined for throwing a drink at a fan, which is still hilarious to me to this day. Jerry Jones and Bud Adams both got fined for flipping off crowds. So the league fines owners for throwing a soda. It fines owners for a hand gesture, and $60 million in Dan Snyder's case. And I know what some of you guys are thinking, because I thought it too. Who cares if an owner gets suspended? He doesn't play, he doesn't call plays, so what does it actually cost him? Well, look at what it cost Ross. He was removed from every league committee. He was barred from entering the Dolphins facility, and he was prohibited from attending any league meetings. For a man whose entire job is rooms, being in the room where the media deals get done, the room where the international games get assigned, the room where the rules get voted on, that's not symbolic at all. That's getting locked out of the actual business for 2.5 months. And for Jed York specifically, that's a very particular kind of pain. He isn't a passive owner who shows up on Sundays. He's a league guy. He's on committees. He chased and landed a Super Bowl for his stadium. He is deeply invested in being an NFL power broker, and he always has been, which brings me to the part that I've been holding since the beginning of this video. September 10th, 2.5 weeks from now, the San Francisco 49ers open their season against the LA Rams at
Hello. We gonna spank them boys. We gonna spank them perverts. The perverts. San Francisco perverts.
The Melbourne Cricket Ground in Melbourne, Australia. It's the first regular season game the NFL has ever played in Australia. The MSG holds about 100,000 people, and it's one of the most famous stadiums on earth. It's part of a record 9 international games this season across 4 continents. Roger Goodell has personally framed the Melbourne expansion as proof that the NFL is turning into a genuinely global sport. This is the league showcase. This is the flag going into the ground on a new continent. There are going to be more cameras at that game than almost anything else on the calendar before January. And the owner of one of the two teams took a no contest plea 17 days before kickoff. And it gets more awkward because of how the two teams are handling the trip. The Rams are flying in the day before and flying out right after. They actually sent staff on the round trip in advance to measure the jet lag. The 49ers are going a full week early to adjust. So imagine a full week in Australia with this. So Florio made a very valid point about this, and it's the strategic read on the whole story. If a suspension is coming, the league's incentive is to hand it down before week 1, specifically so York isn't in Australia. He called it the 600-pound kangaroo in the room, which is a great line that I wish I wrote myself. Because think about
I wonder how long they're gonna suspend this thing. 2 months, 3 months, 2.5 months, 4 months. How much you getting fined, bro? It's gonna be in the millions. Nigga, come on, man.
Two versions here. A suspension announced on September 8th solves a problem. It means the owner in question was already sidelined, and the story is old by the time anybody lands in Melbourne. A suspension announced on September 15th means the league let him fly, let him be photographed on that field at their big global launch, and then punished him afterward. One of those is discipline. The other one is a cleanup, which actually gives us something useful here, and I want you to hold on to it. If the NFL is going to do anything at all, we will almost certainly know within the next 2 weeks. I want you to understand something. Silence past kickoff is a decision. They'll just keep calling it a review, but that's a decision. There's a third road here though, and I honestly think it's the most likely one. York could just step back on his own. He won't sell the team, he won't resign. He just quietly puts out a note this week saying he's stepping away from day-to-day operations for a period.
He's not doing that before this Australia game. This is a big deal. That's what he's not. I think they're going to do exactly what they said. He's going to do this Australia game, be seen. This go down in the history books. You got to think his uncle was owner before this shit, did some legendary shit, and now this is continuing the family legacy of doing legendary shit. And this is a big moment. I got to be there for this. Fuck that little $140 prostitute. Listen, you think these big money motherfuckers give a fuck? When they do shit like that, it's only to please the people. When they find the owners, that's only to please the people. Hey, we got to do something, man. We got to do something, man. They on our ass. They on our necks right now. Something has to happen. All right, well, look. Wait till after the Australia game. And then go ahead. Just charge me something, whatever. Fuck it. Charge me $40 million. I'll pay it and give me a month. And I'll be back. Just like they're gonna make this shit happen. They really don't give a. You think they really care? These niggas are big dogs. You think they really care about a $140 pussy? And it wasn't even a real bitch. It was a sting. You think they care? You know what I'm saying? If it's a player, that's different. We talking about the owners, cause this is the different bracket of money. Hey, look, what? Hey, remember you owe me one. You owe me from last year when I did this for you. You know what I'm saying?
Himself off the Australia trip, and he lets John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and team president Al Guido carry week 1. And look at how well this works out for everybody. The league never has to rule on anything. There's no letter, no precedent set, no number attached. He's out of every camera shot at the MCG. The story becomes York steps aside, which reads like accountability, and in about 6 weeks he comes back and nobody ever had to define what any of it meant. Florio floated the same thing, that stepping aside for now is probably his best play. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.
All right, for sure, man. Now, look.